Hi, all. It's Alyssa, and I thought since the Academy Awards are on Sunday night, we could do a tier list and sort of see where each of the best pictures would go for me personally. I thought this year in movies was actually really great, and there's none of these movies, when I look at them, do I just think, wow, I really hate that this movie is here. So that to me is a definite positive. But there are some that I don't necessarily think belong here, even though I think they are good movies. There are some that I would definitely like switch hit in and put some others. I saw pretty much every movie that was nominated for an Academy Award this year, except there are a couple documentaries, there are some shorts. I think some of the documentaries I'm just going to end up not watching, but and some of the animated films I haven't been able to see. But other than that, I've seen everything, and I really do think it's been a good year. So let's start off with what is probably going to be my hottest take here, which is how I felt about Marty Supreme. So I first off love the Safdie brothers. I've seen all of their movies except for one. I've seen the older films. I love them. I love their style. Uncut Gems was without a doubt one of my favorite movies of 2019. But at the end of the day, I actually found myself really disappointed in Marty Supreme because it just felt like a repeat of Uncut Gems. Like, I know there are things that are similar between Good Time and Uncut Gems, but there was still an energy that I found really different between the two movies, and I loved it. But I really thought Marty Supreme was like shot for shot the same type of movie as Uncut Gems, literally from like the very beginning and the opening shot there, with the camera and where the camera goes in specific places, even to the score of the movie. I could predict literally every single thing that was going to happen in this movie before it happened, which was kind of boring. So a movie that people said they felt really anxious watching, and it was just like a really interesting watch and they couldn't get their eyes off the screen, I can honestly say I did not feel that way. And actually, I think Timothée Chalamet is fine in the role. He fits the role perfectly. Like, I really can't imagine anyone else playing it. I loved Gwyneth Paltrow. I loved the acting, but like, if you think about it, the end of Marty Supreme is everything that Uncut Gems isn't. And I knew they would do it to make it a more like user friendly kind of a movie. And it worked because it definitely is appealing to more people. It's just not appealing to me. So I am ultimately going to put this in the category that is style over substance. It's, I will watch it again. It's not like I won't, but ultimately, it's just, I found it ultimately kind of boring. And that ending, I could not have found cheesier. And I know some people have read the ending of the movie differently and made it not be so kind of optimistic. But every time I watch it, I see his eyes, I'm looking at the acting, and it just seems like it's going for something happier. I don't see that cynical approach that some people are talking about. I just don't see it. Okay, next we're going to do Frankenstein, which is a movie that I really, really enjoyed. I teach Frankenstein. I love the book. Did I think this movie was at times maybe a little bit dragged out? Yeah, I did. I thought the pacing was a little bit off. I thought the first half of the movie definitely could have been edited down a bit, though I did like some of the changes that they made. And I actually like that they, increased the age of the brother William, and a lot of the ending sequences that maybe certain things aren't in the book, I absolutely loved. I thought Jacob Elordi was fantastic in this movie. I could kind of take or leave the Christoph Waltz character. I understand why he's there. That doesn't mean that I necessarily like the point that's trying to be made, but I do love Guillermo del Toro, and I do love seeing him so excited for something. And I did overall like the movie. I would also say one of the things that really took it away from me or took me out of the movie was that even though like the production design is beautiful, costumes are beautiful, like everything that is craft and practical is beautiful, at the end of the day, the CGI was so distracting to me that I found it difficult to get to like the next level of what the movie was trying to say. Also, some of the ideas or the ways of presenting it maybe felt a little bit basic for me, but I still enjoyed the movie. So I'm going to put it in solid craft. I think it's a good movie. I think it's a well-made movie. And I'll leave it right there. Next is Hamnet, which is a movie that I know some people really don't like, or they don't like the feeling of maybe being manipulated emotionally when they're watching it. I will say that most of this movie worked for me. And when I look back on the year, yeah, it's still in like probably around like that number 14 movie of the year, 15, 16, somewhere around there. Like it's still a movie I liked and connected to, and I thought the cinematography was beautiful. It's definitely my favorite movie from Chloe Zhao, but it doesn't quite hit that like top like echelon is like a master class of filmmaking. It's a very well made movie with an ending that could have worked really well if they had different song choice. I will also say I do think there is a lot of overacting from Jessie Buckley in that last scene, and I really like her a lot. She's not my favorite best actress contender. I personally just like Rose Byrne better. I think she gives a more realistic, guttural, authentic kind of performance and more subtle in a lot of ways. And like that is Jessie Buckley. Like when you are going to get Jessie Buckley, it's going to be over the top, and she's not disappointing. Like that lady is acting the whole movie, and she's like feeling it and in it. It was funny when you look at the ending, and it did feel like she has never seen a play before. Like there was something just slightly off, and maybe like the tone and the feeling, and then adding this very specific emotional song. So I actually struggle with where to put it, because it's somewhere I would put it between like it's a classic and it has solid craft, but it's like somewhere in between. But I will be nice and I'm going to put it in classic for now, but just keep in mind that I would definitely put it more in like the bottom tier of where classic would actually be, personally. So there we go. Next up, the one that I would say definitely least needed to be here is F1. And again, I actually enjoyed F1. I'm glad I saw it in IMAX. I had a fun time. But when I'm looking at a Best Picture contender, like I want that movie to say something about humanity, the universe, who people are. Like you need to leave me thinking. And the story is so flat. Like, is it technically really well made? Yeah. And that's what makes it good and exciting and fun to watch. Sound design is great. The editing is great. It deserves all those nominations. But the story, it is just like a rehashed story with that perfect 3-act structure. The main character doesn't change at all. You just really feel like you're watching a movie, and it's very predictable in terms of what's going on. That doesn't mean I didn't like it, but again, should this be here? No, it definitely shouldn't. There are so many movies that I would put into the Best Picture, like a Weapons. Like if you want something that people saw that they get excited about, and I know that it would be two like quote unquote horror movies with Sinners and Weapons, but I will just always think Weapons was a better movie than F1. So I'm going to say people, not that the movie is necessarily forgotten by Friday, but I don't think people are really going to remember that this movie is in the Best Picture category. And I think people will be like, wait, that got in the top 10. So we'll leave it there. Next up, we have Sinners, which if you've seen any of my other videos, that is one of my favorite movies of the year. Always kind of going back and forth. Always going back and forth between that and One Battle After Another. And then a lot of the international films kind of mean a lot to me. Sinners is by far one of my favorite movies of the year. It feels like it transports me to a totally different place and time. It is operating on every single level. So whether it is like the costume or the score or the editing or the cinematography or the acting, like everything is amazing here. And The story is entertaining. It's really easy to watch, but it's actually saying something and it leaves you thinking in a way. And like you look at the vampires and you just start questioning all of the character motivations. And I mean that like in such a positive way. Like I found myself so interested in the character of Remick. I found myself so interested in the story of the, I don't remember his name in the movie, but like Miles Caton in the movie. I was so like drawn to that character. I would say the one thing, if I were to criticize it, I don't love movies that like start at the end and then you go back and how did we get here? I didn't necessarily need that, and didn't need like that jump scare in the beginning. And I know that's like a good hook to keep people in, but that, I mean, literally, if that's the only criticism, that is incredible. And I am definitely like getting the feeling and getting excited that Michael B. Jordan might actually win this Academy Award. I loved his performance. I loved Ethan Hawke's performance. I loved Leo's performance. I just, it doesn't seem like he has any shot of winning. I loved Wagner and Mora. Like there are so many great performances, but I've been following Michael B. Jordan, like I would say since he was a kid, since I was a kid, like we're around the same age. And like to see how far he's come and like from the TV shows that he was on to what he's doing now is just really, really nice. So I am definitely putting Sinners in the Masterclass section. I couldn't imagine putting it anywhere else. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. Okay, so then from there, we're going to go to Sentimental Value, which honestly is also one of my favorite movies of the year. And I was really excited going into it, and I loved The Worst Person in the World. I ended up also watching, it was like August 31st, Oslo, whatever the movie is that he did before that, and really, really enjoying that movie. So I was definitely like excited to see Sentimental Value. But then it actually like hit me emotionally more than any of those other movies did. And I wasn't expecting that. And I really loved, I mean, every single performance. I loved looking at even the connection between Stellan Skarsgård's character and Elle Fanning, and like the kind of like director actress relationship. Like the story did go in directions that I didn't necessarily think it was going to go in. And so it was surprising. And some of the conversation between like the siblings were surprising. And it was just like quiet and beautiful and beautifully shot, and little bursts of like artistic abstract images. And I love when you go like into the past, and I get a lot of these movies are so much about memory and going into the past. And I feel like that theme that's overarching, that was definitely one of my favorite themes of the entire year. So for me personally, Sentimental Value is also a 5-star movie. That is to me one of the best films that I've seen this year. So I am going to put that in Masterclass for sure. Okay, and then next up after that, we're going to do Bugonia, another movie that I loved so much and wanted to love, but then got a little hesitant going into it. But the combination of Jesse Plemons and Emma Stone, it like hooked me immediately. The way it was shot was just gorgeous. And of course it was shot beautifully. It's a Yorgos Lanthimos movie, and there's that like cold detachment to some of the sequences that I just am very much drawn to. But the story went in a direction I don't want to say that I wasn't expecting, because I actually was expecting it, because I know the kind of like stories I feel like that these two people would be drawn to. But I thought ultimately where the movie went left a way bigger impression than I thought it was going to. And I understand that. I've spoken to people that love, love, love this movie. And then some people who are like, it's just too weird at the end, and it loses them. I am not one of those people. It did not lose me at all. I would probably say this was like probably my 5th favorite movie of the year. So I'm going to say that this is always going to be a classic to me. And I definitely, definitely prefer Bugonia to Hamnet. So that I would say, like, if I'm looking at like an order here, I would say Bugonia meant more to me for sure than Hamnet did. Okay, next we have Train Dreams, which was a movie that I really, really liked it. I found it very just like all encompassing, and it was definitely an experience. I could not leave that feeling of like, sometimes the voiceover was too much, or sometimes it did remind me too much of Terrence Malick, which is not a bad thing. But I'm just saying, is that the kind of thing that's so original and such an original voice that I'm going to put it in like one of the top tier categories? For me, not necessarily, but it's an incredible performance by Joel Edgerton. Again, I love the idea of films that are looking at memory and sort of like the guilt that we can carry with us for our whole lives, or and feeling like we made all these mistakes, and looking at characters who are not necessarily quote unquote like the important people that everybody remembers, and that there are some people who are alone, but you look at their story and it's such a beautiful heartfelt story, and the hope that that character holds on to, it is all very beautiful. And I thought, of course, the cinematography was great. The score was beautiful. I would put it in that same sort of category as Frankenstein, and go with the solid craft. But I would say I preferred Train Dreams overall to Frankenstein. So if I'm kind of like ranking these things, I would definitely do that. Of course, the pages not responding at all as I'm trying to. I'm working with very bad internet and the camera stopped working when I was using it before. So I do apologize. This is the worst camera from the computer, but it is the only way I could get this out in time. All right, next, let's go with what is the arguably, neck and neck, the biggest movies of the year, one battle after another. I did a review on this. I've said so much about this movie. I love it. I love that it, like, from a story structure standpoint, it goes in such a different direction. It starts in such an unusual place. It is a movie that is anything but predictable. And from that first frame to that last frame with that perfect song choice, like, this is one of Paul Thomas Anderson's best movies for me. And I know there are some people who don't feel that way, but I would put this movie up there with, I guess, how I look at either Magnolia. I haven't seen Boogie Nights in a while. I need to rewatch that. I actually got the 4K for my version, so I'm excited to go back and rewatch it. But even like how I love Phantom Thread. I think that's his most underrated movie of all of his films. But I just love One Battle After Another. All of the performances are some of my favorite performances. I don't even like Leonardo DiCaprio that much as an actor. And yet, for this, I would say I really think he might have my favorite performance of the year. Like, he gave a performance where he just didn't care about how he looked to other people. And I found that so shockingly, wonderfully refreshing for him. And so I really feel like this is probably the movie that's going to win for Best Picture. I'll be really happy to see it win for Best Picture. If it ends up being Sinners, I would also be happy with that. And I feel like it really is one of those two things. But I would really want Paul Thomas Anderson to win Best Director for this, and not just get a screenplay, Academy Award. I feel like that would be what a waste for Paul Thomas Anderson. And I love Ryan Coogler, but Ryan Coogler is so much more, I feel like, at the beginning of things. And yeah, he did Fruitvale Station, and he's made so many incredible films, and obviously has proven himself as one of the masters. But it's just how his movies don't come out that often. Paul Thomas Anderson, how many are we ultimately going to get in our lifetime? And there is a brilliant one that exists right now. And so if he doesn't get that for director, I would be just really, really devastated. So I'm going to put One Battle After Another in the Masterclass section. I'm going to put that right there at the top. I'm going to pause us for a second. Wait, okay, it's working again. I will say, this whole video, the tier ranking thing, is not working for me at all. I keep just like losing the internet. It's not the website. It's definitely me, and it's definitely this computer. So I'm going to put One Battle all the way there at the front. I will say it just slightly edges out Sinners for me, but only slightly. Okay, and now the last movie to go over, I saw it last week. Oh, that is not switching the one battle. Well, one battle I would put slightly ahead of Sinners, is The Secret Agent. And that is a movie that has been, seriously sitting with me. And it's been a week, and scenes from the movie just keep kind of going through my head, and just like the colors and the feelings and all of the characters and the very unusual story structure, which I loved. And I know there are some people, I was watching videos and they said the movie was really meandering and it was like it took too long to get going. And yet I did not find that at all. I love that feeling of like not really understanding 100% what was going on. Like I understood he had a hit on him, but I didn't know why. I didn't know what his background was. And I will just say, no spoilers, but like the scene where you shift time periods pretty significantly. I felt like that was the moment where everything clicked for me. And I was like, this is a real piece of art, and another film that is so looking at the importance of memory and what memory shifts in our mind, or things that we think are going to be important, or jobs in our life that we think are really important and are going to like help someone else. And then the reaction is maybe not what you would expect it to be. And there's no malice there, but it's just how the world works and how family works and relationships. I mean, all of these movies that are for me at the top are so much about family. So when I look at like The Secret Agent, Sinners, One Battle After Another, Sentimental Value, Bugonia, maybe not so much there, but definitely the other ones with like Hamnet and Train Dreams and Frankenstein, even ultimately Marty Supreme becomes about family. So I still have to sit with it, but I think I would put The Secret Agent as a classic for now and put it after Begonia. We'll see where it would end up ultimately, because I'm the kind of person who like really needs to sit with a movie for a while and have it sort of like, where is it going to stick? Where is it going to land for me? And right now, I will say it feels like it's going to be it would definitely be in my top 10, even though I did that list already. I hadn't seen this film. It really left an impression on me, and I've not been able to stop thinking about it. All right, so I am going to wrap it up here. I definitely, you can watch all the videos that are about like who you think is going to win. Ultimately, it really does look like it's just going to go between Sinners and One Battle After Another. I would love for a couple of surprises in there, a couple of different movies besides that, like Frankenstein, Sinners, I mean, definitely Jessie Buckley is winning. I would love to see Stellan Skarsgård or even Delroy Lindo win for supporting actor. But again, it looks like it'll probably end up being Sean Penn. I don't know. It like happened so quickly that I'm still trying to process it. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I would love to hear how you kind of like would rank the films for Best Picture. If I'm looking at what I wish could be on here, I so wish it was just an accident was here. I would, in a heartbeat, I would take Marty Supreme off for something like that. Like if I could make my own list, I would definitely take out Frankenstein, Marty Supreme, and F1 for Best Picture. Put in things like it was just an accident, Weapons, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Like those would be the movies for me that I would want in that Best Picture category. But this is still a pretty good year. I still feel like everything went relatively well. Like there could have been much worse and much cheesier movies that got into the Best Picture list. So let me know what you guys think about the tier list, where you would put the movies, and hopefully you all enjoy watching the Academy Awards. All right, bye. I'll see you later.